Hey, welcome to this AMA. There was a cancellation for the group conversation today, so I jumped in with an AMA without a presentation. And Jörn has the first question. Thanks, Jörn. Do you want to verbalize it?
Yes. Hi, Sid. Thanks for jumping in. So my question would be, what's the dish from the Netherlands you miss the most in San Francisco, and what's the best US dish to compensate for the lack of Dutch food in America?
Thanks for that. Luckily, one of the Dutch delights, I'm not sure to call it like that, but stroopwafels. But they're very easy to obtain here in the US. So actually people buy them for me, which is not good because it's a lot of sugar, but they're great. And then I think one other thing I really like is bottlenotjes, which is kind of peanut nuts that are coated. They're hard to obtain here. Other than that, my hair gel I'm particular about because it's so low maintenance. So every time I go back to the Netherlands, I come back with a couple of pots. And I'm running out now due to COVID. So imagine that I had like a year-long emergency supply of it. Sheila, you have the second question. Sheila, if you're talking, your mic might be muted.
Hi, Sid. Nice to meet you. This is Sheila, the staff business system administrator from Sales Systems team. I'm so happy to be in GitLab. And my next question is like, how and when did you come up to build like 100%, 100% of the remote organization? Like what occurred to you? When did it occur to you?
Yeah, welcome to GitLab, and thanks for the question. This wasn't some like most good decisions at GitLab. It happened despite me, not because of me. For example, the other example would be a single application. The first iteration was we hired a few people in the Netherlands, and I invited them to my house. So we had like, hey, Monday, 9 o'clock. This address, and they came again the next day, and I think the third day they didn't show. I was like, they're late. And but then I saw them online, and okay, I just worked with them like everybody else. So everybody else in the company was online, so it was kind of obvious to them that they didn't have to be in that office to do their work. And this happened again in the US when we got a proper office, because people told us like remote, it works for engineering, but not for finance and sales and marketing, all these functions. So we got an office, and Hayden, I think, was the first one to come in. He lives in Alameda. It was an hour-long commute for him. And yeah, he came in for the first 2 days, and then day 3, no Hayden. And look, I also don't see the benefit of a 2-hour commute to sit in the same room as Sid, who's on video the entire time and yapping the entire time. So like, it didn't make sense. He didn't do it, and that pattern continued. So we're remote because you're not missing out at GitLab if you don't come to the office. You don't miss out on information. You don't miss out on camaraderie. You don't miss out on career opportunities. And then people don't necessarily want to come to the office. They don't want to commute. They don't care about the furniture there, and they just don't want to miss out. And we made sure that nobody misses out. Thanks, Helen.
Hey, Sid. Curious to know what you're most looking forward to at GitLab as we approach the next fiscal year. There's obviously been perhaps a slightly different year to what we all thought it would be. So keen to know what you're most looking forward to.
Yeah, lots of things to look forward to. Obviously, like the would be nice if the pandemic went away. Probably not at the start of the year, but hopefully we'll get some vaccinations that are safe and widely available. For GitLab, the company, I'm excited that we're getting better data across the board, especially in marketing and product management. I'm really excited about that. In marketing, we'll be able to compare the different marketing channels, and in product, we'll be able to know which groups are producing features that are used a lot and not used a lot. So I think that will lead us to be better stewards of the business and allocate resources where we're having success. So I think that's exciting. We're continuing with the work to become a public company someday. So that public company readiness, buttoning up of all our process and procedures, I think is very worthwhile, even if it's not just for becoming a public company, but it's basically becoming a better run company, which is important in and of itself. And I think the Gartner market exploration was very exciting. It was a report they recently submitted, and maybe someone can link it from the note. But it says, hey, DevOps platforms is going to be a market category, and it's going to be a single application. And we see it increasing from 10% market share right now to 40% in 3 years from now. I think that's super exciting that first we had our competitors who kind of acknowledged like this is the winning strategy. Now we have the analysts. I think in FY22, we'll see customers say, oh yeah, I need a DevOps platform, where it's no longer us having to convince them. We just have to convince them that GitLab is the best option, which I think should be an easy task for us. So I'm looking forward to that. The customers understanding that they have to go from their tool chain of point solutions to a DevOps platform.
Thank you.
Thanks. Link.
Hi, Sid. Thank you for taking the time today. I appreciate it. So I know you've talked about your reading list in the past, but 2021, different situation. Wanted to see if that's changed a little bit, and if what books you've chosen and what kind of drew you to that book.
Yeah. First book I'm reading is Sapiens, and I'm reading it because like 8 people said I should read it. Or like, hey, I'm sure you already read this, so apparently I'm in the target audience. The second book is, I forgot the title, but it has to do with situational leadership. It was the first book in which this was mentioned. I think it's called Management of Organizations. It's hard to get, and it was given to me 2 weeks ago by our board member Godfrey. He thought it was a good book for me to read, and I respect his opinion, so I'm going to read the book.
All right, I'm up next. What does your morning routine look like?
Yeah, thanks. I go to bed early, like 10 o'clock. And I get my alarm is 6 o'clock, so 6:15. I try to, if I'm in Napa, I try to go cycling. If I'm here, I'll go on a stepper and watch YouTube. This morning I was lazy and just watched TikTok and YouTube Reels for the entire time. At 7:15 I shower, and 7:30 is my first call.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anima?
Oh yeah, thanks for your time, Sid. What are your favorite activities to relax from the daily stress? I mean, there must be some kind of activity which you most likely do after work, probably, or before work. I don't know.
Yeah. Before work, I try to get some exercise. I find that it's easier on an empty stomach. It's easier to do it the first thing when you're not tired yet. To relax, I must say I watch a lot of YouTube videos. So I tend to put on my do not disturb around 6 p.m. or something, like I'm done with the day. And then I watched the YouTube this morning. Most of them are about, or the most common category is SpaceX. And it was a video about how they're stacking the new spaceship they're building in Boca Chica, Texas. So that's fun. I also watch a lot of silly stuff on YouTube. That's my favorite way to relax.
Thank you.
Kai?
Thanks, Sid. So given some of the market conditions and scrutiny larger tech firms are starting to see,
in the US, I guess, with policy. Do you think there's a certain size or scale or market condition that would make us spend time on public policy?
That's a good question. I think it's a really insightful question. I haven't given this a lot of thought. I would rely on Robin's advice there too. My knee-jerk reaction is that the companies that are spending a lot now on public policy are ones that have a really large market share, also known as a monopoly, and that we're very far from having that problem. So I hope that in a couple of years from now, we'll spend more money on public policy. And I want to state for the public record that doesn't automatically mean we are close to a monopoly, but it will be great to have to be a bigger company and have to worry about these things.
Yeah, the flip side perspective would be that the companies that have public policy that are protecting their monopolistic interests versus the companies that are trying to compete with those companies that also have to spend time sort of lobbying to make that case clearer.
Yeah, I think we are keeping an eye on our competitors, but I think if you can avoid spending a lot of time and energy there, it's great. Now, I saw the case of Slack against Microsoft filed in the European Union, and I understand that they got affected to such an extent that they had to choose this path. I think at GitLab, when the best outcome in a couple of years would be if we weren't forced to do something like that. I think it'd be the better outcome for our happiness at the company, for our customers, for the world, and for our competition. Next question is close to political, but
I just wanted to get started.
We'll do it.
It's not too political tabs or spaces, and if you don't like it, Vim or Emacs.
I'm a Ruby. I used to be a Ruby developer, so it's spaces, 2 spaces to be exact, and Vim over Emacs. I think it's like the complexity of programming languages. Like, I think in Ruby you feel like, oh, this is about how complex a programming language should be, and then all the Haskell and Lisp programmers are like, oh, but this is even better, and you're like, oh, I don't quite understand that. So this is really the ideal complexity. I think it's like that, Vim versus Emacs. And I think Vim is pre-installed more often, or easy to install on most systems if I SSH into a box. But I'm starting to give arguments, which is really bad. So I think we should move on. Thanks for the question. Hope I didn't alienate some of our team members. Josh, I'm not a programmer. I'm not on the engineering team. I don't get to decide these things. Josh, your next question.
Thanks, Ed. Hey, keeping with the close to political line of questioning.
No, very legitimate question, both the one that was asked and the one you're going to ask. Very good.
No, I would love to know your thoughts on the email that came out from Expensify on Friday. Seemed to be a little bit polarizing and created a bit of a hubbub. So I'd love to hear what you think about it.
Yeah. So for context, what happened is that Expensify is it's a company that we and other companies use to file your expenses. So it's like an app on your phone, you scan your receipt. And their CEO emailed all of our team members, I think even ex-team members that were offline in the app, with a message regarding the elections. I think it's highly inappropriate. I think there's a lot of ways in which people have access to political news, and I think the workplace should be one where they're not forced to have that. So I think it's inappropriate of the vendor. We'll do something about it to the vendor, and as a company, we will not do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I believe Shem has a follow-up question to that.
Hello, yes. I just wanted to ask, based on the discourse in Slack yesterday, do you feel that the team's overall response and tone was in line with GitLab's values?
I didn't check Slack yesterday, so I'm not aware of what was discussed, but thanks for asking.
No problem.
Cool. I see no other questions. Thanks for joining. Have a good one.